Hi everyone, and welcome back to our series of short videos on the theme of revival during this season of Lent. We're in the book of Jonah this week, and we're allowing the book of Jonah to speak to us on revival, bearing in mind that in the book of Jonah, what we have is a citywide revival taking place in the city of Nineveh. But if you know the book of Jonah well, you will know that Jonah receives a calling from the Lord to go and preach to the city of Nineveh. And what does Jonah do? Well, he runs away. Why does he run away? Well, we don't get the answer until right at the very end of the book in chapter 4. I'm going to read chapter 4, verse 2 for you. Here's why Jonah ran away from God's calling. Jonah 4, verse 2. Jonah prayed to the Lord, "O Lord, is this not what I said when I was still at home? This is why I was so quick to flee to Tarshish. I knew that you are a gracious and compassionate God, slow to anger and abounding in love, a God who relents from sending calamity. Now, O Lord, take away my life, for it is better for me to die than to live." Rather than see the city of Nineveh revived and return to the Lord, Jonah would rather die. The Ninevites were Israel's natural enemies, and for good reasons. They were Jonah's natural enemies, and the thought that God would have mercy upon the Ninevites was too much for Jonah to bear. I wonder who are our natural enemies, maybe the enemies that we have inherited from previous generations. Maybe there are people that feel like enemies to us because of what we're seeing on the news. I mean, not far away from where I'm standing is the Short Strand. There has been an historic enemy of those living in this side of the Albert Bridge Road. Or you think about the people from around the world who are beginning to move into East Belfast. They're often considered threats. When I was growing up, in my teenage years, our natural enemy, in inverted commas, would have been communism. We were the West, and they were the communist East. And so when you thought about communism, you thought about China, you thought about Russia. But thinking about China for a moment, there is a country which has been a natural enemy of the West. And yet that is a country that's seen incredible revival, an amazing movement of God. In 1949, Mao Zedong came to power, declared China a communist state. By 1958, the 6,000 missionaries that were there in China had been expelled, and every church closed, bar a few. Between 58 and 1966, if you were a Christian in China and you were caught with your Bible, you were imprisoned. And yet, despite the persecution that was going on in China at that time, when Mao Zedong died, when was it? It was 1976, and China began to open up. Rather than seeing a church that was barely getting by, actually what was discovered was a church that had exploded in the face of persecution. In 1982, it was estimated that there was something around 100 million Christians in China. Now think about that for a moment. That despite the fact that the church was being persecuted, it exploded in number. God was at work in a nation that was, for me as I grew up, my natural enemy. And yet God extended mercy to the Chinese people. That's a challenge to me. Who are the people, individuals? Who are the people living around me? Who are the people living across the road on the Albert Bridge Road? Let me never be anyone who limits the mercy of God. Because God's heart is towards all people, whether they are my friends or whether they are my enemies. Lord, do what you want to do, and help me never, ever, ever to run away for your mercy and grace, irrespective for who it is towards. Have a great day. See you tomorrow.